So that's a question that has a difference of opinion within Islam.
But the thing is that there's virtually every topic that you have debated on, Muslims have different positions on.
No.
Like whether Muhammad is in the Bible or not. That is not a
but it's not creedal. No, it's not creedal. It's not
exactly.
creedal. Yeah,
exactly.
It's not a creedal thing.
But the question about Allah entering into His creation, you said you would tell me what the Hanbali position
so,
is.
Yeah,
so
the Hanbali position is that it's possible in a way that only God knows how.
How is that different from the Salafist position?
It's the same.
Yeah, okay.
It's the same. The Hanbalis, the only difference will be.
So there's really two camps.
Those
that say can and those that say can't.
Some that say that can, and some that say that it wouldn't befit His Majesty to do so. Yeah.
So you do believe that Allah can enter into His creation?
The Hanbali position, which is what I follow, says that, for example, the third of the night and all that stuff is literal. It's actually dhahir.
Literal.
However, I like I said to you before, my policy when discussing with Christians, Jews, or atheists, or anyone who's non-Muslim, is not to tell you my position. It's to tell you that there's this position and there's also the Ash'ari position, which you could claim is actually majority of Muslims that are Sunni or that claim to be Sunni would follow, which is that actually that's not to be taken literally, but it's metaphoric.
Yeah, I'm aware of the difference.
So this is the difference.
So the question is, Hijab, I'm willing to go into this debate right now. However, I will be a man of my word. You said you wanted to do this in 2 weeks. So do you want to do it now or do you want to do it in 2 weeks?
No. What I'll say to you is, you can be a man of your word, but what I'll say to you is,
but
I would rather
Allah entering into His creation.
No, but here's the thing. That's an issue that Muslims.
That's the one I want to debate.
But on what my position?
Yes, your position.
Yeah. So my thing with that, let me tell you now, to save you the time. I'll talk to you about anything else.
Great.
But on these issues, I don't talk about them to non-Muslims. Yeah? I talk about them to Muslims because with that, let me explain. That's an issue that Muslims have not agreed upon. Does that make sense?
What issues do you talk about?
On central issues. No. Let me just finish. I'll just finish this off. With Christians, my policy, and Jews and atheists or anyone else, is for me it makes more sense to start off with issues of disagreement, like the Trinity, like the crucifixion, resurrection, incarnation, all those things. All those things were all Muslim.
Allah entering into His creation.
I understand, but then find someone else. Find Shamsi. Shamsi will be happy to argue.
Shamsi doesn't. He runs away every time. The reason why I came to you, Mohammed, because I know you're not someone who runs.
No, I don't run. But
so that's why I want to debate you.
But for me, my policy is this, and I've said this to you many times, and I've employed it with anyone who wants to talk to me. Yeah, I will not. This is my policy. I will not entertain denominational discussions with non-Muslims. It's like me coming to you and asking you about the Pope.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'll talk about the Pope.
No, I understand, but look, here's the thing. That's things that Christians disagree on. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying to you, it would be foolish of me to kind of take on the mantle of a Protestant, or I'm not sure if you're Catholic or Protestant, I don't even know.
I'm just a Christian.
You're an Anglican, I think.
Just a Christian.
Yeah. So let's say you're just a Christian, non-denominational, whatever it may be.
Yep, that's it.
If you're non-denominational Christian, whatever it is, whether you take the position that the Pope is infallible in his rulings and so on, or don't take that position, it's a foolish thing for me and you to debate. You should be debating that with someone who disagrees with you.
But if you're going to debate the Trinity, for example, or whether Christ can become a man, then he has the right to then reflect back.
But I'm telling you, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
What you're saying is you're only
debate
what I'm saying is on that on issues that
we're not here
you
to
like,
look.
But then when he has a point to reflect back
say
on
he
what
beats
you
me.
believe.
Say he beats me in the debate. The majority of Muslims might agree with him. Do you get it? So he's not defeating Islam at all.
So
it's a
how
waste
do you
of time.
debate about the Trinity?
It's not a waste of time to me.
Was God?
Okay, but then
not a waste of time.
My remit in Speaker's
You're saying it's a waste of time.
My remit in Speaker's Corner is not to get into interdenominational discussions.
Is there any Muslim here who is willing to debate Allah entering into His creation?
No, go ask someone else because that's not my. That's not my.
So you
said
you would. You said you would.
Let me ask you. Can you be forgiven without the shedding of blood?
How can you debate?
You know what I mean?
Well, come on, Hijab.
Not on this.
No one can intimidate you.
Go back to your own beliefs.
You can debate me on this topic.
I would say to you, honestly,
can you be forgiven without the shedding of blood?
What do Muslims say about it? Yeah. My thing is Muslims disagree. Simple as that.
Great. So now explain to me. Hold on one second.
I think we should stop there.
Isn't Islam meant to be a perfect guidance to mankind?
Yeah, but interpretations of it are there's different interpretations.
So there's problems
the
with the
Aqidah is the
way
same.
that the Quran describes Allah.
On this
Aqidah is
question
solid.
of did Allah, can Allah with his
We don't need
essence.
to get touchy feeling. I know I'm attractive, but
very
just hold yourself back.
No, I can't stop it.
I know. I appreciate that.
Do you tell all the men you're attractive? Really, Bob? Are you telling men nowadays you're attractive?
You always have to
Wow.
shout at him. Do you have like one tone of voice?
You believe Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Why don't you keep quiet where you're supposed to be? Just be quiet.
Perfect.
No one's talking to you. As usual, no one talks to you.
Naked doesn't mean naked.
Yeah. Look up the dictionary.
You about that one. Exactly.
And according to you, Christians, it's okay to be naked. According to you, it's okay for Christians to be naked. What a freak. Being naked is okay, according to him.
According to your prophet was naked.
And according to you, God was naked on the cross. And he died by his own creation. What a shame.
And he's born from a vagina. Failed to be perfect.
Shall I go on? Shall I go on? Yeah, that's where your God came from. Are you embarrassed?
Hashim, calm down.
Tell this boy to calm down.
Too much coffee, mate. Calm down.
Bob, stop telling people you look attractive to men.
Many people.
You believe Bob's telling men that he looks attractive. What is your? I wonder where his orientation is.
Look, we're not going to be able to communicate like that.
Yeah, exactly, Mohammed. Let's go, bro. I told you to become a debate.
I would like to debate. Not on this issue. I said to you before. I'll say to you, look,
that was in the Quran.
if you establish that can't be the case,
Where's the verse of breastfeeding?
What it establishes is one of two things. The reason why I want to prosecute this argument is because whether you're an Ash'ari or a Salafist Hanbali, the reality is you have problems with what the Quran teaches.
The only God born from a vagina.
It's also in the Quran.
No, Nuzul is more about the Quran.
Does it say in the Quran? Does it say in the Quran that Allah's hands are on their hands?
No, but the Quran here.
Does it say that?
Yeah, it does say that. Yeah.
Right. So we are talking about.
No, but you didn't say about hand. You said before. Your question was to do with Nuzul.
When Allah's hands.
Nuzul is not in the Quran of Allah.
When Allah's hands.
Nuzul is in the Hadith.
When Allah's hands are on their hands, is Allah's hands in creation?
Now here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yes. So
literalist.
Now, first of all, let me tell you what all Muslims agree with. Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Yeah, all Muslims agree that Allah's hand is not what is referred to as Allah's hand. Is nothing that can be conceived of anthropomorphically.
Right.
In other words,
so it's not a hand.
It's not a physical hand like this or anything. No, and no Muslim
not a hand.
Absolutely not a fleshy hand.
So the Quran is not clear when it says a hand because that word is meaningless.
No. That word has a meaning, but the meaning it does not. What we know it does not mean. What it does not mean is that it's a fleshy hand of the creation.
That's telling me what it doesn't mean. What does it mean?
So what we know about the hand, anything that's referred to. This is, okay, good. So good. So anything. My view, yeah. Okay. You want my view? Right. My view on the matter is that when any of the attributes are presented in the Quran, we know what it does not mean. What it does not mean is that it can be related to anything within creation.
Great. Yes. Now answer me this. Is the point of communication...
It's not going to end, bro. Is the point, come on, let's go.
Is the point of...
Last question.
No, it's a statement.
No, last statement.
What's the point? Is the point? You can't shut up for 2 minutes. So in terms of communication, you would agree the point of saying something positively is to communicate something.
Yes.
Right. So when Allah says in His book that His hands are on their hands,
but it's not
what
about
positively is that communicated?
Okay, fantastic, yeah? So from an Ash'ari perspective, they say it's metaphoric.
But you're not Ash'ari.
I understand, but I'm giving you because I'm representing Islam. No, I want to represent Islam. I'm going to talk about both schools.
But now you're only representing the Ash'ari side of it.
I'm going to tell you both.
Go on.
The Ash'aris say it's metaphoric or it means power, okay? For the most part, that's what they will say. Among the Ash'aris, there are some who will say, actually, it's tafweed. That's a different discussion. A third school of thought will say it has a functional, the only thing that is similar between it and the creation is the functionality. In other words, just like, but basically, functionally, Allah's a king, yeah? Let me explain. Me and you say, oh, God is a king, sovereign, yeah?
Carry on.
So me and you both say God is sovereign, but one of the meanings that the word king entails in a worldly sense is a man. But me and you, I'm not talking about, I'm not talking about Jesus now, because you say Jesus man. But both of us will say the Father is not a man, yeah?
Carry on.
So the word king here, one of the meanings of it, of what it means in this world is a man. But me and you will say, but actually that's not what is intended, because the face of Allah, the face of God, the hand of God, and so on, that's also in the Bible. Do you get it? So there's the same disagreements that existed amongst Muslims, existed amongst Jews and Christians on these issues. I can prove it to you. For example, now hold on. On the question,
you're talking about the hands of Allah.
the hands of God in the Bible, Old Testament. Yeah, and also the face of God, the eyes, and all of that is in the Old Testament.
Jacob wrestled with God.
Now, Jacob. Now, all of that is in the Old Testament and the Bible. Now, the question is, the question is, how have scholars of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam interpreted those words? Jewish scholars, I've read it myself, Talmudic text, Midrashic text. You can see if you want references, I can show it to you.
I'm not a Jew.
For example,
It's from the Old Testament.
The Old Testament scholars, and if you look at also some of the patristic, what do you call it, commentaries and homilies of the biblical text, some patristic scholars took it literally. Some, like Origen, did not. They were very clear allegorists. So the idea of allegorization of the attributes of God is a question that's not Muslim specific. Do you get it?
But you haven't answered my question.
So what I'm saying to you is,
after all of this, you still haven't answered my question.
My question is this:
what is communicated in the Quran when it says that Allah's hands are on their hands?
Bob, let me explain to you. This question, the answer is this: there's a difference of opinion among Jews, Christians, and Muslims.
And with that we should finish. Let's go.
About the Quran.
Hold on, I'm not
talking about the Quran.
I'm saying the same things that the Quranic commentators.
Stay with the Quran.
I'll stay with the Quran. The same thing.
You mentioned the Quran.
I have mentioned the Quran.
Exactly.
The same things that the Quranic commentators and mufassirs or exegetes and also creedal experts have disagreed upon. And do you know what I find really interesting about Bob?
So far, all you've said
let me
is
say
all you've said is
in one end, bro. In one end.
Everything except the topic. Hijab. The topic is what is communicated by their hands, by Allah's hand on their hands.
Okay, fine.
Does Allah's hand enter into creation? Yes or no?
No, let me explain. Everyone knows. Let me explain to you what all Muslims agree on is laysa kamithlihi shay'un wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. Chapter 42, verse 11. All Muslims agree upon that, which is that the fleshy hand that I have here, or what we refer to as hand in this world, is not what that verse is communicating.
So what is communicated? That was the original question.
Yes.
It's now the fourth time I've repeated myself.
So this is where the difference between it. An Ash'ari would say it's metaphoric, it means the power of God. An Athari would say, an Athari meaning a Hanbali, meaning a Salafi as well, because it's the same thing. They would say that the hand here is referring to something which is called hand, but functionally operates in a way that only Allah knows best.
Exactly.
Okay. So
and
what
with that
you're
we should
saying
finish.
Is Allah's hand entering into creation?
No. The hand is a sifa, it's not a that. Do you get it?
Is it entering into creation?
Hold on.
Whatever you want to call it, is it entering into creation?
Let me explain. There's a difference between a that and sifat.
Is it entering into creation?
Let me explain the answer to the question, yeah?
To my question, not the one you're asking yourself.
Yeah, so the sifa of Allah is in the creation. For example, a sifa, sorry, let me say in English, I'm saying it in Arabic. In English, the sifa is an attribute of God.
Yep.
Whereas the essence is called the that.
Yes.
So everyone agrees that the attributes of God can enter the creation, are in the creation. For example, the attributes of God, of knowledge, God's knowledge is everywhere. So, do you get it? God's power is everywhere.
So the attributes are divisible from the essence?
They're not divisible.
So where Allah's attributes are, Allah is there?
No. What we're saying is that
Allah does enter
into
His creation.
We both believe that God is essence and attributes.
Does He enter His
creation?
creation?
We both believe
I think the better term is it manifests in the creation.
Yes.
But it doesn't enter. In the sense of the essence.
So it's the hand.
So the love of the mercy of Allah, the knowledge of Allah.
Yeah, you get it.
It manifests. It's an attribute.
Yes.
So it's an attribute. It enters into.
It manifests in the creation.
Okay. So it enters into creation.
Manifests into the creation.
So Allah can enter into creation.
So what
manifest is the same as entering.
No, it's not.
So my view,
mercy manifest doesn't mean entering.
Yes, manifesting is
Go and look up the word.
I know what it means.
No, you don't know.
Yes,
but that's not the
exactly.
You don't know the meaning of naked.
Manifestation.
Very loud.
Now, Bob, second thing, can I say something really important?
Yeah.
So you said yeah, and then you started talking.
Because you can. But I do want to bring you back to the something that you've avoided.
I'm glad you know.
Which is that. So I'll ask it again and you'll see why you've avoided it. We have said
manifest very simple,
what is communicated when it says Allah's hands are on their hands, because what you've done is say everything it isn't. But you haven't said what it is.
Okay, we don't know what it is.
You don't know. So it's not clear.
We don't know
So
how.
it's not clear guidance.
We don't know how.
So it's not clear guidance because you don't know.
We don't know how it operates. We don't know
without how.
Yeah, we say we let
So it's not clear guidance.
We say, yeah, absolutely. We say that in these matters of attributes of God,
yes,
in regards to howness, we don't know how.
It's been the general statement.
Nothing is communicated.
No, it's incomprehensible.
It's
incomprehensible for us to know how that manifests.
Does the Quran describe itself as being clear guidance?
Exactly.
No, it does.
Does that apply to all the Quran or just
No,
the
but here's the
Quran?
thing. Let me explain.
It doesn't say enter. You lost.
It's not about winning or losing. These people might be actually.
Again,
I'm interested.
Okay, fine.
That's why I came to you.
No, good.
See, I schooled you again.
So, Bob.
Okay.
Bob, sorry.
Pepper God, just shut it again.
So something doesn't enter, but you can see it with your eyes.
If you should walk naked, you might know
George,
better.
what's your name?
Paperboy.
George.
George.
Yeah, George.
What?
George.
George. What?
Let's go, bro. Come on. I'm hungry.
Let me finish. Hey. No, this is an interesting topic. Do you know why? I actually did my research. I looked at
You can talk about it great.
Bob, no, please, Bob.
God wrestles with Jacob. Let's explain that.
Hashim, I'm talking to him.
Wait.
Hashim,
And he lost.
No problem.
And Jacob lost. Right, God lost. Jacob won.
No, I know that.
Muslims are the ones that have a problem with God entering into
hold on.
creation.
Guys, let me just.
Christians have no problem walking naked like wrestling with God.
What I'm saying to you is, when I've done my research, I found basically, generally speaking, I looked at
God died by his creation.
I looked at the
That's the worst. That's the worst part.
on these issues. Forget about the
Humiliated and killed by his own creation.
Putting the Trinitarian
Tell us
aspect.
about when the black
And he says, my God, why did you abandon me?
When the black stone was stolen and used as a toilet.
Doesn't matter. That's not God. It's not
Where was the
God.
bird?
Say what you need to
Black
say.
stone is not God, but
George,
God.
hold on for a second.
Hashim.
Just
Tell him to shut up.
1 minute.
Tell him to shut up.
George, please.
The guy behind you.
What I'm saying is
Toilet
that.
paper boy.
Hashim.
Let's go, Muhammad. Yalla.
Give me 1 minute.
I told you to
I
become a
just wanna say
debate.
one thing. What I was going to say is that I was, on my research, putting the hypostatic union to the side.
The question
No,
is
come
about
on.
the
I
communication.
was trying to. George was talking.
The question is about the communication.
Let me just say
What is communication?
Yes, I'm
The clear guidance that the Quran says that it
listen,
is.
Bob, don't be ridiculous. Because you're a clever man, yeah?
Yeah, I am.
I'm
trying.
You're a clever man,
on.
so you're not ridiculous.
So when it says it's clear guidance,
Bob,
does that
Bob,
apply
Bob,
to all of the Quran or just some of
you're
them?
an intelligent man, so I'm not gonna, I'm going to speak to you as if you're an
Man poison the lamb of yours.
What I'm saying is that putting the hypostatic union to the side and putting the Trinitarian concept to the side.
I know.
Now,
But his
looking
own
at
prophet
what
was
is
naked.
George,
What the
stop.
Quran
Why don't you?
says.
Have you heard? Why is it you don't
Talking
listen
about
to Hashim's
Islam.
words?
Muhammad, let's go, man.
Now, let me finish. Give me 1 minute.
It's Hashim that is talking nonsense.
Hold on,
It's
Hashim.
him that's talking nonsense.
George.
And I'm responding to him.
So what I'm saying is that, putting that to the side, what I found, looking at the patristic and the rabbinic material, the
Talking
midrashim.
about the Quran.
Hold on. I'm going to make it easier for you to understand.
I don't need to. Just talk about the
You're a
Quran.
clever man. I'm going to talk about the Quran, believe me. Yeah.
Okay, let's get to the Quran.
The same discussions that commentators and exegetes had about the attributes of God, especially those which have meanings which could be construed as anthropomorphistic, like hands, face, whatever. Have already been had between Jews and Christians, as been had with Muslims. Here's the biggest difference, and this is how I want people to know. Wallahi, it's such an amazing thing.
Not your sales pitch.
No, it's
Get
not,
to the
it's-
Quran.
Just be quiet for a second, man.
Patience, Bob, patience.
Just
You'll
be
get
quiet
it.
for a second, man. Do you know now, the Muslim world, the Sunni Muslim world, those who claim to be Muslim, they divide on this issue of Isma or Sifat, or the issue of names and attributes. Now, what I found mind-boggling is that those same differences that Muslims have now are the same exact differences that Jews and Christians also had. However, the difference is Muslims actually divided into sects because of it, whereas Jews and Christians on these issues never divided into sects because of these issues. You know why? Because
you don't tell me. We're talking about the Quran.
Let me just finish.
We're not
Let him
talking
finish,
about
let him finish.
history.
Let me finish.
It's
Talking about
It's interesting. Let him finish.
So Bob, allow me. Give me
Where
10
your
seconds.
prophet
Well, stick to the
felt-
subject, Hijab.
the
You have
hadith-
said.
Shush,
You have said.
Just
Hijab.
give me 10 seconds.
Hijab,
I beg you.
Hijab,
10 seconds,
you have
you're
been
not
very
gonna-
patient.
Please,
You've been
Shush,
speaking.
you're not asking
You
why.
wasted your time
I
talking
said,
about
you know,
hadith.
Bob, let me just give me 10 seconds.
What does he say?
10 seconds.
had
You
2
have said.
minutes.
I said, you
You
know
have
why?
said.
I said, you know
that
why?
when-
And I'm not going to finish.
No,
Let
no,
me finish and then you can
no,
talk.
no, no.
Yeah,
One
but get to
second.
the point.
Hijab.
Yeah, I'm trying to get to the point, but the guy
you're
is
going
Get
around
to
the
the
way.
point. point of the Quran.
Bro, but you're not letting me talk.
Go on.
Okay, good.
About the Quran.
Do you know why? The reason why the Jews and Christians...
Not the Quran.
Exactly. Tell us the Islamic perspective.
Let me finish off what I'm saying.
It won't end.
Let me finish. Bro,
why is it when we talk to Muslims, they can never talk about Islam, they always have to mention the Bible, Christianity,
we're talking about
Islam.
We're talking about your theology.
Give me 10 seconds.
When it's saying...
We want to learn about Islam.
Bro, this is impossible.
Let's go then. Let's go. If you go, yalla. Ma salama.
In 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we'll do it time.
It's nonsense.
We'll do it time.
No, Jordan, I don't want to hear your voice.